Welcome back, everybody. This is Rafa from Mystic Times. I'm very happy once again to have joined me the great Brandon Bozarth. Last time we spoke a lot about, let's say, enlightenment and knowing yourself and going deep into questions of, in my case, there was this thing about my solar plexus, I remember, and also this idea of how we judge the things that come up for us, and learning to see things in different ways, so more empowered ways. And today we're going to go somewhere kind of different. But first, I'm going to bring Brandon on and say hello, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing really well and excited to be with you again and excited for kind of this, the direction that you feel inspired to take this feels really good.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm very happy that you're feeling better. I know you've been through some like we were speaking before, a kind of an ordeal. So I'm really happy that you are feeling better, and also from what we spoke before, you you had a kind of, it was kind of powerful spiritually for you, that thing. So I'm guessing that's probably going to be informing you moving forward. Definitely everything that you must have gone through. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So from last time, after we spoke, I learned about this other aspect of what you do, which I find super interesting, which is channeling. Um, there's so also last time we spoke about the Akashic records, and we kind of explored a different way of looking at them as an exploration of another aspect of ourselves. And I also see channeling as something like that. Actually, during when I do Akashic records readings for myself, I understand that I am sort of channeling or connecting to my higher self. And so I am channeling in the sense that I'm allowing that certain information to come through me that maybe in other contexts might be filtered by my ego, by
Hmm.
my mind, whatever. Um, but I've never like how fun it must be to have this kind of relationship with a, I don't know how you could call it, another entity, another space friend or whatever, and all the implications of what it might mean. So today I would like for us to kind of explore a little bit the idea of what channeling means, what it implies. I know there's probably going to be some bridging in this conversation between whatever it is that enlightenment is, what our true nature, our true self is, and this kind of ability of connecting to something that appears other, but that kind of is same as us. So whatever you want to comment on that, so we can just jump right in.
Yeah. It is fun,
Mm-hmm.
and now that it's been maybe a year and maybe a quarter since I've started, or a year and 2 or 3 months since I've started channeling, it's also feels pretty normal for me now. And like before, it was like I'm doing this, and then there's my channeling, and it was kind of like on a pedestal of like it's more valid or valuable than other things because I'm connecting to another version of myself. The word that they use is counterpart, and this being is super intelligent and all knowing and certain. So in the beginning, I had to really inquire and see if I was giving any of my power away to the channeling, as a source of ultimate truth versus just a different perspective. So it came with its own transformation. I had a really intense 6 months of learning how to channel. There's a near death experience. There was just really learning how to surrender. I mean, there's a lot of different directions I could take it, but yeah, I guess I'll kick it back to you for specifically where you want to go.
Yeah. So okay. So you say near-death experience. So I'm guessing that's connected to how this started. And just yeah, tell me more about it.
Yeah. So it started really actually, like the seed was planted when I was 21 and I was really getting into Bashar's material. And for those of you listening, Bashar is an extraterrestrial from the planet called Esasani, or now in their evolved form, ShaKa. And this being has been channeling through Darryl Anka for about 38 years. And it's just one of the OG, super credible, and the information completely changed my life. I mean, it took me, from 21 probably to 27 to just fully understand and integrate the information that comes through Bashar. And it was integral to my life. And I just, since finding Bashar, I tended to gravitate very naturally to channeled texts and material in different channels of the planet. Now, I never considered myself, or even really was even open to the thought, oh, maybe I'm going to be a channel. But in the way that they channel. At the time, I understood that we're all channeling. If we want to be specific, it seems like we're all channeling uh, souls through bodies. That's just the state of our physical reality. We're all channels. But in this way, channeling extraterrestrial, me, oh no, I don't know if that's for me, even though I always was excited by it. And it wasn't until I had a session in person with Bashar, which is incredibly hard to get nowadays. I mean, he will open his schedule for a few weeks and an entire year could book up. And I was trying to get a session with him for 5 years, and finally I did. And in the session, Bashar revealed to me that I have a counterpart on Esasani, and well, two counterparts technically, and that a lot of my connection I was feeling with Bashar was also because I have counterparts, which is technically a future self. All a counterpart means is you share an oversoul. So imagine oversoul being like the palm of your hand and the incarnations being fingers. If I was, the pointer finger and we were going linearly, maybe my next, quote unquote, in linear time, next life or 2 lives from now is ShaKa, and we share an oversoul. So you could technically say he's another version of myself, from that level. And I said, does this being have the desire to channel through me? Or do I have the ability, and would this being be compatible with me to channel? And he said yes. And I lit up as soon as I got that confirmation, and I knew I needed to learn now how to channel, how to intentionally put my brain state into gamma frequency, there was still some doubt and confusion and questions that I had, so I hired a channeling coach. His name is Tyler Ellison. He channels a being called Ryok, and he's also an Esasani channel. And we worked together for probably about 4 to 6 months. And in that time, not only was I learning the energetic techniques and the brain altering techniques, but I had a lot of resistance come up, and fear and uncertainty. And without going into too much detail, I had this experience where I was taking a supplement called colloidal cobalt. And I was only interested at the time at the metaphysical properties. Little did I know the physical properties essentially were hyperthyroidism. So I was causing myself to be in this state of fight or flight, having adrenaline and cortisol coursing through my veins to the extent that I couldn't sleep. Literally, my body would be awake, my mind would be awake, everything would be awake, and then for about 30 minutes, maybe sometimes at the max 2 hours, but somewhere in between 30 minutes and 2 hours, my body would go to sleep, get just enough, and then wake up. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know what the cause of this is. I'm investigating my trauma. Okay, is this from my past? What's making me lose sleep at night? What is it? What am I holding on to? What's the shame? And I'm looking, and I can't find anything. And that made it even more frustrating of like, and I didn't know it was the supplement at the time. I have no idea why I just can't sleep. And I'm now about a week into probably on average no more than an hour of sleep a night. And I'm starting to feel insane. I feel like I'm hallucinating, like I can't do anything. I have to clear all of my clients, obviously. And just spiraling, going, I have no idea what's happening, what the cause is, how to change it. And I think I might die. Like, I'm going to die from sleep deprivation, or I'm going to go to an insane asylum, or I'm going to be forced to take some sort of medication to force me to sleep for the rest of my life because this is just how it is. And I'm entertaining all of these kind of insane thoughts. And one night I'm so desperate, I'm taking all the sleep aids you can imagine. And you know, the only thing worse than sleep aids not working is being awake with anxiety and cortisol and adrenaline in your body while your body is essentially asleep because of all the sleep aids. It's a really strange feeling. It's like being in a prison in your body. And I'm laying there one evening and I'm so desperate. I'm like, I'm gonna go smoke weed, marijuana. And I don't really smoke, but I was so desperate. I was like, I'll do anything. I will smoke until I pass out. And so I did. And I got so incredibly high. I come back to my room. I'm on probably 15 milligrams of melatonin, valerian root. I mean, all of the sleep aids, plus, and because I don't smoke hardly ever, I'm incredibly sensitive. And I've probably never been that high in my life. And you know, if you're anxious and you use really any plant medicine that's like a natural plant medicine, it's going to amplify your experience to heal, to, you know. So I'm laying there and I start going into a type of panic attack. And that panic attack turns into a full type of seizure where my hands curl up like this and my feet curl up and I go cold and I go stiff and I'm shaking and I'm sitting up in bed and I can't breathe. And I was almost sure I was going to die. It was like, this is how you die. And I can't breathe and I'm shaking and I'm stiff and I have no control. And Ashley, my partner, wakes up and she's trying to calm me down. Take me to the hospital, take me to the hospital. And then all of a sudden I have this thought. If I die, can I control it? No. If I don't die, can I control that? No. So what am I resisting? What am I trying to control here? What am I trying to change here? Because either way, no matter what happens, I have zero control over it. And it hit me at this level where I started to relax. And then I had this thought, without a story of a future, and the future was, you're going to be like this forever. And I started to question that. Is that true? Or is that just my thought? Is that thought creating more suffering than the actual experience that I'm in right now? And it was true. The thought was creating more suffering than the experience. The experience was shallow, rapid breathing and shaking and tightness. And, that happens when people have orgasms. Sometimes people love that experience of feeling close to death. So without a story of a future and without a definition of what it was, all reality was man sitting, shaking with shallow breath. And I go, is that a cause for suffering? Is that where my suffering's coming from? And it wasn't. It was from my thinking. So this moment of discernment that came in very clear was like, oh, this changing is not going to save me from suffering. My surrendering these thoughts that I'm believing that are causing me suffering, that are causing me resistance, that's going to allow me to be at peace with this, even if I'm also in pain. And so as soon as that happened, I relaxed. I came out of this panic attack type of seizure thing. And as soon as I started coming out of it, the colloidal cobalt popped in my mind. I swear to you, it was like God reached down and was like, boop, you got the lesson. Here's the answer. And I had no clue, not even a tiny part of me thought it could be from that. And it literally just flashed in my mind, poof, like that. And I instantly knew, oh, it's that supplement. I attracted that to get to this level of surrender, and now I don't need it. And I stopped taking it. It took another week of shitty sleep, but every night was a little better. My hormones rebalanced. And about a week after that, I started channeling. I already had all the skills, I had all the techniques, but none of that really means anything if you're not allowing yourself to surrender. So that was kind of the initiation that I went into, and then the channeling started happening a lot more effortlessly.
Oh my God, what an experience, man.
Yeah, it was intense. One of the most intense, actually, probably
Mm.
more than any medicine journey, more than sitting with ayahuasca, more than any of it, that was the most intense journey in my life. Because uh, you can always say, man, this is so intense, but I know it's temporary. It's plant medicine. I'll wake up to it's all going to be fine. This was like, there's no apparent reason this is happening. So this could be it. And like holding on to that thought for a week, really a week and a half, was just I was just in torture mode, torturing myself,
Yeah,
and
and
it made that surrender that much more sweet, you know.
yeah, there was probably that feeling or that thought of this, like you say, the difference with plants, like this isn't going to end, or the only end for this is death. Yeah, and it kind of seems to that it was right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and do you think everybody needs, or why would channeling require you to go through, or like why should the activation of your channeling capacities require for you to go through such a, I mean, I can kind of imagine if there is that much resistance to surrender, and perhaps the channeling, I guess channeling requires a very powerful kind of surrender.
Yeah, there's a letting go
Mm,
of control and a letting go of thinking I need to know what's going to come in the future. What thinking I need to know what the answers are going to be, and
mm,
all of that is future based. It's trying and it's trying to control something I can't control, and that was really the entire theme of that experience.
mm. So how is it for you when you're channeling?
For the
Like,
most part,
are
I
you
don't.
present? Do you feel like you're there as well as ShaKa, or?
Yeah, I am present. It feels like I'm like right now. I'm just here, you know. And when I start to go into the channeling, kind of, it's like I feel like I go to the back of the room, or like if I was on the front of the stage, I go to the very back of the stage, and I can have my own experience backstage. But I know if I was backstage, I know there's a performance going on. I know there's something happening, but I'm backstage maybe, just to use the metaphor, fixing some wires, or or relaxing or painting, or I'm sometimes having my own experience while being aware that this is happening. And sometimes I can go in between, and I can be a little more, have a little more attention on what's happening with ShaKa, and typically that happens when it's important for me to hear. And sometimes I can have my attention, so to say, on maybe some geometry that I'm experiencing, or
Mm.
imagery of what is happening that I'm really connected with and intimately connected with and experiencing. Um, but that type of experience in of itself is very dreamlike. It's like, in a dream, how you can think something and then boom, you're somewhere else in your own experience, and just breaks the continuity a little bit. There's no in between. So it's a very dreamlike state that I get in. And for the
And
most part, I don't necessarily fully remember all of it.
mm,
Some things that I need to hear from me, I'll remember. And if you say something from the session, if you say, "Oh, remember when ShaKa said this?" Boom, it'll jog it in my
mm,
memory. But for the most part, it feels like coming out of a little daydream. When you're in a daydream and it feels so real, and you don't, you just start to lose that sense of reality, but not entirely like you're sleeping. It's like that. So I kind of come out, and then the daydream is a little blurry. I feel very relaxed, like I'm getting up from a nap. And yeah.
yeah, this reminds me of something we spoke last time. Uh, I have this idea or this perception that we are sort of in a process of um, becoming aware both of our small personality, our ego, our character, and of the soul sort of behind it, and we are like, I see lots of people going through this process of kind of an awakening and um, like being present in like both sort of, I wouldn't call them both egos, but you know the small ego and the big ego, maybe if you could call, like you were saying, the palm of the hand and the fingers,
Right.
like we are becoming aware of we are already aware of our finger since we are uh, born, or maybe a little bit later when we are instructed into knowing who you are as a person. But then I see that we are growing into becoming aware of the palm of the hand as well. But it seems here like you're even bringing like your awareness into like two fingers at the same time in a certain way.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. And many people, is not an uncommon experience. People have sometimes very vivid dreams, and in the dream, they're a different person. And it's actually a memory, it's not a dream. They're actually connecting to a type of parallel reality, which is another one of the fingers of their oversoul. And I've had two distinct moments where it was absolutely undeniable. And there were others, but there's a distinction about these two where I absolutely knew they were counterparts of mine. And one of them was in Bali. I was just gazing at the beach, and I just finished swimming for the first hour of the day, and I'm sipping a juice. And Bali, for me, is one of the places that I felt most in harmony with nature. It was like I'd wake up and go to the beach and go in the water and just be in the sun. I mean, it's just beautiful. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking out, and I'm just in a pure gratitude. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, this image of a Balinese man on his knees with no shirt and two black kind of streaks on his chest that look like they might have been like mud being smeared like this, and looking up at the sky in pure reverence. I mean, so much reverence, and which deep appreciation for reality, for nature, that he's sobbing. It's just
Mhm.
love. It's like, oh, thank you, thank you. And I took it on completely. I start breaking down. I mean, one minute I'm sipping a juice and eating a French fry. Ashley looks over, looks back, and I'm bawling. And I'm telling you, their quality of thought was different. It wasn't like I'm thinking about Bali and like building up in my mind this gratitude fantasy. It was, oh wow, look at the beach. Boom. Whoa. And absolute emotional connection, and like that feeling of, yeah, that's that's closer than close. And it's happened again in actually a meditation led by Bashar, where I had another experience of just where I kind of was taken there, and same thing kind of happens with ShaKa. As I relax my focus, I relax my attention, kind of zoom out, which is essentially zooming in, you know, into myself, and get to that space of awareness, of pure awareness, of non. I'm not just Brandon here sitting thinking, like, to get to that more expanded state. And then I use the symbol that ShaKa has given me, and really my intention, like a phone number, to then from that place kind of dial the ShaKa number. And as we both do that together through love, which is really what the connection, all telepathy, which is all really channeling is we're having the same thoughts at the same time. We get into a mirror, like two tuning forks that are on the same frequency. That connection point is unconditional love. And it happens in couples all of the time when someone asks them a question and they both say the same answer at the same time. They go, oh, that's it right there. There's love present. And so things harmonize, they synthesize. So essentially that's what I do to get into the state. And it's not like a being comes into my body and moves me around like a puppet. That's the old kind of outdated understanding. And now it's more about just understanding physics. We meet on a certain frequency. I'm no longer Brandon, but I'm not also 100% ShaKa, because that would mean you would be talking to ShaKa 100%. in the physical reality. So it's a third person that's created
Mm.
essentially as like the Vesica Pisces of us both, where we're having same thoughts at the same time and we're that united third person.
And so the many things come to mind, but just now the question that comes is, do you know if at that moment, so at the moment that ShaKa comes through you, is he, I assume it's a he, is he, I don't know, sitting down in some kind of a meditative way, like
Yeah.
intending to connect with you as well, or how
Yes.
would it work like for him?
Yeah. So what I've got from him is that he is in a type of chamber, like he lays. It's kind of like a reclined, relaxed position. Uh, he hasn't said if he's lying more upwards or flat, but the images that I've got is kind of at an angle in this like repose positioning in a type of chamber that just keeps his body, positioned and as it needs to be, and it's on his ship. And so they operate off pure synchronicity. In the same way a spirit can transcend time and space, you can have a spirit that has died in the 1940s experiencing this moment now, but also going and experiencing themselves in the 1940s. Like they're outside of time and space, um, and that's why they can appear as 30 years old or whatever they want, really. Um, so because they operate off pure synchronicity, it's very similar to spirit. They are always living in their highest excitement and passion every moment. They don't experience negativity at all, in the way that we do. The only way that they experience negativity is as recognizing that that's not the path for them. Oh, that's surprising. This isn't the way it's going to go. I guess it's going this way. That's like the closest thing they can get to experiencing negativity. And because they're allowing synchronicity to work for them versus work against them, because bad luck, what people call bad luck, you could say is negative synchronicity, meaning I have these negative beliefs that I'm believing, I'm acting on them, so I'm creating the reflection in my reality, and everything just seems to always happen to screw me over. That's negative synchronicity. And the opposite is positive synchronicity. It's like I'm coming from this empowered place, I act that way, therefore I find myself at the right time in the right place. So they're always in that positive synchronistic empowerment flow of life. Therefore, if it's his highest excitement to channel with me and it's my highest excitement to channel with him, then anytime that we do it, somewhere in their timeline, because they can shift up and down their timeline very differently than us, you can be speaking to ShaKa at 180 years old, and then 2 minutes from now, he's 212, because that version of him had the answer to the question. So they can slide and slip up and down physical reality because they're right on the cusp of being physical and non-physical. They're transitioning into fifth density, and we're transitioning really into fourth density. So there's this ladder of evolution that we're climbing. So they just allow the synchronicity to happen. And that might look like, from our perspective, that ShaKa had this channeling 2 weeks ago, but it's just now unfolding in our reality. So they just live a very different way that it could be a little bit hard for us to understand, more multi-dimensional, to where it's not like he's just waiting around going, all right, when is Brandon going to get in the state here? We're going to channel soon. It's like he'll have the inspiration to channel exactly when it perfectly comes for him, because it's his highest excitement, and it just ends up syncing up with mine in whatever way that it needs to.
Yeah. These new understandings we are starting to have about time. I mean, it's all connected to this idea of us learning to become more identified with our soul. I'm sure, because, like you said, even the description of, or the understanding of what channeling is, has been evolving for the last. For example, Bashar has been doing it for 40 years, so an understanding of it as well as the understanding of what time is and what the experience of it is, and how we interact with it. And it's also been evolving so much. And I see, so from what you're saying, that maybe in a certain way he's able to, or not able, but he knows that when he decides, or when he feels like it's a good moment to channel, it's like he's able to bridge to whenever you are channeling here today, with the and even when you're going to be asked a certain question that at that moment in his life, that's so trippy. Yeah, I love that stuff. I think we I don't know, I don't mean to pressure you, but I mean, it would be amazing if we could try something like that now, and see what comes up. I mean, this is like so crazy and so intense and so much fun. Maybe there's something else that you would like us to explore before that, or something that we should know about.
Yeah, no, I'm ready. If you want to go into the channeling, I'm good to go.
Wow, no, this is like so amazing. There's, for example, you were speaking about Bashar, and for me, I had a very similar experience. No, but no, not a very similar experience, because your experience was very unique, but a similar experience in the sense that at around the same age that you're speaking of, 21, 20, 18, something like that, I was like not into spirituality. I was kind of maybe agnostic or whatever, but I started being interested in what was kind of the entrance for me into all of this new age and all this. I call it this craziness. It was the idea of metaphysics, right? So before that, I was in high school studying engineering, or like here, high school is divided into three, and one of the branches is the scientific branch, and then you study engineering. So in that branch that I chose, I was in physics class, and we were learning about quantum physics, and when I started understanding understanding the ideas of quantum physics that I was being taught, immediately I got this idea of, well, this is just like what religions are talking about. I wasn't religious at all, like I was saying, but I got this kind of understanding, And so from there, I guess, I started looking into metaphysics and seeing how the religious stuff and the scientific stuff kind of merged, and how reality was being created. And then, for some synchronistic reasons, I found Bashar, and I was extremely like what do you call this, a non-believer, but I started listening, and I'm happy to say that through whatever karma, whatever, I'm able to like listen to something, and if it resonates, I mean, it resonates, so I heard his message, and even though all the movement and whatever in the way that he particularly channels, it's kind of funny and very, very new and different. The information coming through for me was totally new. I had never heard stuff like that, and I remember this idea of reality being like frames, and like billions of frames a second, and so there I got the understanding of how we are able to shift our reality by, okay, let's in some way make the next frame of the movie the frame that we want to be living. But then many years I needed to develop the understanding of belief, of focus, of intention, etc. And I'm still on that journey, which is amazing. So I wanted to say that in preparation for this thing that's so exciting, because I have also an affinity with Bashar, because he was like the first door, the first crazy door for me, and it was a door that I value very much until this day, and it's been like the ground on which I've explored and expanded so much of my understandings of consciousness, manifestation, spirituality, living, like you say, your highest excitement. Yeah, and life can be kind of crazy sometimes, or crazy, I mean, life can be hard, life can be stressful. That's just a small cat around here that's crying. I don't know if you can hear, but
Again,
yeah, everything's fine. She's just missing her owner that went out. So reality can be so malleable. It's something that I've come to understand through time, and to have the opportunity right now to I'm like nervous, just out of asking, and you said yes, and I'm like, oh wow, what the hell is gonna happen? But I'm excited too for it. So yeah, let's just go ahead, and
let's do it.
I don't know, you tell me if there's anything that I should maybe focus on something, or focus on my breath or whatever, to like help assist on whatever I've never done this before, talking directly with but okay, I know I can do it, so let's just go right ahead.
Whatever questions or that you have that are exciting to you, or if you want to share experiences. I mean, I always say just be open to where it goes, because it typically goes in unexpected and really fun and expansive directions. It's only when we it's only when we um, have expectation or want to fit it into a box that I mean, in my experience, it's just not as fun.
Yeah, that's resistance in its greatest. Yeah, I'll try to keep my microphone muted when
Okay.
you're speaking, just so the outside noise doesn't interrupt. Yeah. Okay.
All right, and we extend our greatest love, joy, and appreciation for the co-creation. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing fine. And how about you?
We are very well as well. Do you have any questions, sharings, or queries at this timing?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you for coming through. I hope wherever and whenever you are that you are having a great time. Um,
We always have a great time. There is no hope required, but we understand and appreciate the sentiment.
Thank you. So I have some questions about the new Earth.
All right, and which new Earth are you referring to?
Yeah, all right. So as I am understanding from my own intuition and my own explorations, there's a kind of transition, or I mean, there's always a transition going on, but there seems to be a particular transition that is going on. We kind of mentioned it before when just now speaking with Brandon about our transition into fourth density. I understand that you are transitioning into fifth density. And I'm curious about your thoughts about this transition, and if there is going to be, or if there is happening, a particular kind of split that is associated with this transition.
All right. The idea is that you have chosen to play the game of Earth, of physical reality, and in doing so, you came to experience the actual nuts and bolts, so to say, of creation, of manifestation, of process itself. And so, rather than in many other different densities, spirit, in dream time, rather than simply shifting to the version of reality you prefer, the moment you decide to make the shift, you are experiencing the shift. And that means more space and time, more of a linear type of reality. And so, because that's part of the game of physical reality, you are not, in a sense, signed up for an instantaneous one-to-one reflection type of experience. And so, really, the only other alternative is more slow, more integrated, more dense, so to say, change in your reality, and you are now reaching a threshold point. You are now reaching a type of critical mass where that space and time continuum, your linear reality, is starting to break down at a more exponential rate, where you can actually perceive there are certain types of quote unquote splits taking place in your reality. And there are not just a few, really are infinite versions of your reality, but there are some that stand out more. There are some that are more relevant to your collective, and many of you are now giving yourself an opportunity to choose which version of Earth you would like to, in a sense, crystallize and experience in your reality more strongly. That is essentially where you are now and the type of theme you all are experiencing now. Now, depending on what version of Earth you are referring to, that is about as much as we can explain for the general idea.
Okay, thank you. Very good. People are, I sense people are scared or worried about their loved ones with whom they are kind of losing resonance. And so this split might imply or be something that kind of splits people apart or splits even families apart. And so I wanna know how we can prepare for this split and how much of a kind of split between people is going to occur or might occur.
All right. In the way that you mean it, when you say can split families apart, this will not occur in the negative sense. The split, whether or not you decide to resonate with a more positive version of reality, a more integrated version of reality, or a more negative version of reality, both of them are simply evolutionary paths that will eventually, so to say, lead you home. Not that you already are not home, but again, the integrated realization and lived experience of feeling like you can be in your natural state every moment. This is what we refer to as the feeling of being home. And so some may shift to that reality and some may not. But that doesn't mean you won't have versions of these family members in your reality that seemed to make the shift, but they are actually different people. They're different versions of your family members. So to say, some of my family members may not make the shift, you are referring to your current family members. You may have different versions of them a moment from now, or a moment from now, or a moment from now, or in what you might call the next coming years that do make the shift. And because you're not referring to the same person, it is both true that some won't make the shift and some will make the shift. But whoever needs to be in the reality will, and whoever needs to be in a different version of reality over time will be in that version of reality. And really, there will be no experience of lack unless that's the reality you choose to crystallize.
Okay, so what I'm understanding is maybe this might manifest in the form that people who might think in a certain way and not understand other ways might begin to understand those other ways in order to be.
And a version of them that may continue to not understand or to be closed off in a certain way will continue on another version of Earth. Or that one will continue on another version of Earth and another version of them will not be relevant to continue on the path that you're continuing on, and over time they will phase out of your reality. But that also means you might shift your past to where you never remembered them in your reality in the first place. So it can go many ways.
And so if we could move on a little bit, but still kind of in the same vein of the thing, what is the role of technology in all of this? What is, and maybe adding in, I've been looking into the Mandela effect recently. What is the role of these things?
Of technology and of the Mandela effect?
Yes, correct, in the coming transition.
All right. The idea of technology gives you the opportunity to relate to nature in a very specific way, where you can either use technology to uplift nature, to enhance nature by providing certain frequencies, certain shifts in your environment that you may have degraded previously to correct certain imbalances. Technology can be used in this way. It can be used to provide the basic needs of the body for the masses of your planet. It can be used in many ways. The idea is that technology is fundamentally neutral, and how you use it will determine your relationship to that technology. So if you find yourself using technology in an imbalanced way, it's really there simply as a mirror to see and become aware of where you have imbalance within yourself, like anything else in your physical reality. The Mandela effect is a side effect of the breakdown of space and time. It's about the idea of recalling certain memories that do exist in parallel realities as valid realities that break away from the general consensus reality that creates your general agreed upon past linear sequence. So when that is broken down, you are starting to see the multidimensionality of the past. In other words, you are starting to see that the past is not linear, that the past is created in the moment, and that the past is a dynamically changing function. And so it serves many purposes, but fundamentally it is the very beginning of awakening to your multidimensional nature.
I see. So when we think of the past, we are actually thinking of one past, or of one particular past. That is,
Typically, that is how most of you view the past, as one linear cause and effect sequence. But what we are telling you is that is a projection of your mind, of your consciousness. It is not the actual mechanics of reality.
so it's not a fixed thing.
It's not fixed, no. It's dynamically changing because you believe that changing your perspective of a past is changing your perspective of the same past. But what's actually happening is you've changed yourself in the now, and now you're accessing a different version of the past that is its own autonomous reality. That is reflecting back to you the change you've made in the present. That's truly how you change the past.
So we are choosing, maybe unconsciously, a past that is allowing us to believe what we believe about
That
ourselves
is
today.
a reflection of what you most strongly believe about yourself now. Change the beliefs now, access a different version of the past. Change the now, change the past, so to say.
That's very interesting. Thank you.
Think of it as a prism or as a holographic projection. You being at the center point, being the light at the core of the hologram, and projecting an image and thoughts and beliefs and feelings of a certain past, and perhaps doing that for your future as well. Where are those images of the projector located? Are they here and now, or are they then and there?
Yes, they are in my consciousness right now.
Yes, they are projected from, so to say, this now moment, from your consciousness. The idea is that that is the only experience any of you have of what you call the past and future. So when you understand this, the moment that the image changes, that the projection shifts, which can only happen if the projector changes now, then you are fundamentally experiencing a new idea, new version of past and future that is equally valid, equally real. It's only your belief that says this past is the real past and this one is not that makes it seem more real than another version of the past. But that's just a belief.
And how could we, because we've we believe at least that we've experienced a particular past. I mean, probably there's infinite pasts that we have experienced, and we, like I'm understanding, we are choosing one of them. But how can we open ourselves enough to allow ourselves to believe that that a past very different from maybe something traumatic that happened to us, and we can like, oh no, that actually didn't happen. Now I'm going to shift into this personality that believes something different happened.
All right. This can be tricky for some of you because it is very tempting for the ego or the negative belief system to hijack this understanding and use it to avoid, deny, bypass certain experiences. The fundamental rule with this process in particular is that if there's any area of your past that you are resistant of or judging, then you simply cannot remove, quote unquote, that from your past because you are technically holding on to it with your energy, with your attention, because you believe it serves you some way. If I resist this version of me in the past, it will help me avoid being that version of me in the future. And if I define or judge myself as bad or wrong, then I need to hold on to that version of myself to prove to myself that I'm bad and wrong so I can avoid those mistakes in the future. If you are using the past in this way, then trying to change your past is just going to be a mental exercise, but will never actually translate to a new identity, a new continuity that you are looking for. So the idea, paradoxically, is to embrace the version of that past, embrace that version of yourself, ask yourself the questions, what am I making this past event, experience mean about me now? And investigate if those beliefs are fundamental facts of the universe or if it's just your learned, assumed conditioning that truly has nothing to do with you. And when you see it's your conditioning, it's just your way of believing and perceiving your reality, then you will also automatically see that they truly don't make sense. That those beliefs are based in lies, that they're fallacies, that they don't logically add up. And when you see that they don't add up and you see that they're not fundamentally yours, that you've assumed them into reality, then you will see that they are optional, that you don't need to choose them, that really they don't make any sense to choose them. And as you see this for yourself, it will automatically be released from you. That past will be released from you because it has given to you the lesson you have signed up to learn from it. So when you learn the lesson from it, then you start acting like a new person, and that new person has a new past.
See, there I get kind of confused. I'm following what you're saying, but you get a new past, you get a new interpretation of the same past.
How can a new interpretation of the past be the same past? Your interpretation of the past is the past. Literally, what you think about it, how you feel about it, the images you see, that is the experience of your past in the now, is it not?
Yeah, correct.
That is the only experience you can possibly have now. So if even one tiny eensy beensy piece of it shifts, isn't that an entirely new picture that you're painting? Even if one little color shifts, it's a new picture, yes?
Yes.
You can't actually go back to that moment because that moment is here and now in a different version of reality, and you aren't located in it. You're in a different version of reality. And the only constant in your reality is change. So you will never experience the reality in that way again. You literally can't, in a sense, touch that reality in any way outside of your own perspective of it. In that sense, perspective and reality are one and the same.
I get it.
The other alternative point of view is to believe that reality is located somewhere outside of you and your perception of it is somehow separate. But how can that actually be true? All you can experience is your perception of reality. You cannot experience reality without perception because that would mean, by definition, your perceiver or mind wouldn't exist. And if your perceiver or mind didn't exist, you couldn't experience reality. There would be nothing to experience without the ability to experience.
Yeah, I get it. So let's shift gears a little bit I want to know more about
All
you.
right, are we upshifting or downshifting?
I don't know, maybe side shifting. I'm not sure. I would
All
like to
right, maybe
know.
going to neutral. How about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I
All
love
right.
that. Like, I would like to know more about you. Like, for example, maybe we can, maybe if it's okay with you, um, if I could ask what your name means.
All right. It is in slight reference to our evolution. There's a connection to the ShaKa and I people, which represent our more expanded and integrated form. Sasani means place or people of living light. And ShaKani is more of a reference to our integrated, united living light that we all are. So it is simply a more, you could say, holistic, unified, collective society that we are starting to experience ourselves as. And I represent the archetypal energy of transition, of transmutation, of transformation, really between the two states. That is more of my specialty of facilitating this type of transition in very specific ways.
Okay, very good. And do you have like this, the experience of you and your people? Is it like a one-to-one correlation with humans living here or with other beings living elsewhere?
Can you restate the question? Maybe
Sure.
in a different way.
Yeah, so I understand that you are an alternate expression of Brandon
All right.
and
Counterpart.
counterpart, and there's probably other people in your society who have a kind of similar relationship to humans or perhaps other beings. Is it a one-to-one, like you are to Brandon and not to somebody else, or Brandon
We
might have
do
another one?
have more counterparts, but typically the way that counterparts work, and not always, but typically they are more spread out through time and space. So, for example, there are no other direct counterparts to us in your current society, but there are in what you would call your past and in your future.
Would you give an example? Is that allowed?
An example of other counterparts we have in your physical reality?
In our past, for example, other
All
other
right,
SSN. Yeah.
one moment. There is an individual in your Atlantean times that is considered one of our counterparts that went by the name that you would say as ShaKa Ra. And this is another counterpart of ours.
And so now that you mentioned this counterpart, what's the relevance of him, and what's the relevance of Atlantis in today's time? I feel like it's
The relevance for humanity or for us?
yeah, for humanity.
All right. Atlantis represented archetypally peak human civilization, peak expression, absolute ability to thrive, to be connected with nature, and to be a bridge to higher frequency information from many levels of reality, and to be able to anchor that energy, that information in reality for the benefit of all. However, they did at some point slip, so to say, into a more negative polarity where the seeking of power and control at the sake of nature, using technology primarily as the means to gain control and power and to begin to allow certain information to become more secretive, to become more divisive because of the fear that was, in a sense, injected into society. They also realized that they were part of a natural cycle and that this was something that, in a sense, they've all signed up for on higher levels, although not everyone remembered this. And of course, that was part of the fall, the forgetting that this was part of a natural cycle and that they would all eventually reincarnate and have a chance to integrate and transform what was responsible for the fall of their civilization in your world, but specifically in your Americas. The Americas are the remnants, are the echo of Atlantis, and are playing out very similar, what you would call karma, or simply lessons or themes of exploration. So you are now learning to reintegrate ancient wisdom, connection with nature, upliftment for all beings, living from the natural state, and really living as a holistic society. And the only way really to get there and, in a sense, crystallize that reality is to take on and transform all of the negative belief systems and themes that the Atlanteans did not transform in that specific timeline. Because remember, there are other timelines where they did transform it and they still exist. But you are all collectively connected to the fall. And in a sense, majority of you are, linearly speaking, connected to, and you are those Atlantean souls.
Okay, yeah, I see. We are, so as I understand you, we are maybe not everyone in humanity today, but many of us are back from there to kind of fix or do differently what might have been done incorrectly back then.
Yes.
And
Many of you
so,
refer to it as a type of rebalancing of the masculine and feminine archetypes within you. This is accurate. Really, it's just about the idea of, instead of suppressing polarity, allowing, expressing, and neutralizing the polarity within you to then allow for a natural balancing to occur that can then be reflected back to you in your physical reality.
yeah, that's good. That's interesting. An interesting way of putting it, and something that, for me at least, I think it might require some rewatching of this conversation. I'm very thankful for everything that you've been sharing. Do you think there's something else that we might need to, or that we could benefit from, some other information that you can share with us, that, or some question that I should ask you today?
Humans have a unconscious and sometimes conscious habit or choice to overcomplicate things and take on questions like, how do we change the world? And typically find themselves feeling very overwhelmed, very small, because they are setting up a parameter that they're actually not designed as an individual to, in a sense, solve themselves, to take on themselves. And it is part and parcel for the theme of physical reality, which is feeling like an individuated self, when in reality, you are not. At your core, you are all that is. And each and every one of you are reflecting one another. You are one another, and you are also different variations of one another. It's all of it, all together, all at once. That is what multidimensionality is. And so, knowing that your reality is a reflection, a hologram, a type of mirror of who you believe yourself to be, then when you understand that your own investigation of your belief system, your own investigation of your identity is of the utmost importance, because it is the way, it is the direct path, so to say, to transforming your planet and to shifting to a version of Earth that is more reflective of who and what you truly are. When you truly understand this idea, then you will drop the attempts at attempting to change your reality, attempting to control your reality, and you will turn within to investigate your belief system, investigate who and what you think you are, and in that investigation, reveal to yourself that you're loved, that you have a gift that is needed, and that you will be perfectly supported by reality, because you will see you've always been perfectly supported by reality. And you will allow yourself to act on your passion moment by moment. You will have no insistence of a result or outcome, because you will see that results and outcomes are literally just your projection of a future that really doesn't exist until you are experiencing it through your consciousness in your physical reality. So you will simply, without effort, without trying, allow the natural expression to flow through you. And this is an actual relaxation of effort, not a focusing, pushing of effort to get to somewhere. That is always actually taking you further from yourself. Since the relaxation is so uncommon on your planet, it may feel like effort to a lot of you to simply allow reality to unfold and allow yourself to flow in the direction of your passion. Might feel like effort because you've been conditioned to not allow that type of reality. But when you can actually see that it doesn't take effort, then you will enter a more simple, effortless, fun, and enjoyable reality. And this is what the next quote unquote level or stage of humanity is shifting into very strongly, is a more natural way of relating to one another, relating to nature, and relating to who and what you are and what the normal way of living is. And that's what these few years of compression, of self-reflection is all about. So the more that you allow yourself to go within and act from the natural state, the more you will see that your reality will simply fall into place and surprise you in the most exciting and inspiring ways that it is possible for you, and that is the actual design of your reality.
Thank you, ShaKa. That is beautiful. If I may, one final follow-up question to what you just said. How can we sort of balance this living our fullest joy with planning for the future?
Only plan for the future if it genuinely brings you joy. If it doesn't bring you joy, then you're not planning. You're attempting to avoid something or control something. That's not planning. Only plan if the action of the plan itself, without needing it to come to fruition, brings you joy. But you have to be honest with yourself, because many of you disguise planning your future as attempting to control things in the way you think things need to unfold. But the truth is, none of you can know. None of you can know how things need to unfold. And so, be honest, plan if it excites you, but you'll find, for the most part, there's very little planning required.
All right, very good. Thank you so much once again. And again, I hope, well, no hoping, but I send you lots of love and light. And yeah, I'm very, very thankful for everything that you've shared today.
And we thank you for the opportunity. We thank you for the co-creation and the crystallization between our respective societies. We send you our unconditional love, joy, and appreciation, and bid you a good day and happy dreams. All right. How was it?
Yeah, it was very cool. I'm very curious. Was there any particular point during the conversation that registered for you? Like you were mentioning that sometimes if there's something that's particularly for you.
Yeah. Atlantis. I mean, I could really see a lot of the architecture and felt a emotional connection to it. You know, that's all that's coming to me right now.
Yeah, I really feel there's like a kind of Atlantean revival kind of that's going on, or right? It's like it's becoming very, very relevant, the story of Atlantis. today for some reason, even more and more each day.
Yeah, I
Mm,
agree totally.
yeah. Well, I can see it kind of takes its toll on you, right? To do
I mean, it's
this.
not that I get exhausted, but when I finish, I am very relaxed. So typically, I don't go right into like a coaching session or something. I just have the next 10, 15 minutes at least to like drink some water, do something physical, and yeah, but I feel like I just got up from a nap, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely important to like ground yourself, right, and connect to your
Yeah,
work. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, um, if there's nothing in particular that comes to mind that you would like to share right now, maybe
Well,
we could kind of close.
yeah, I'll mention. I'm putting together a course with the ShaKa material called Activate Infinity, and it was a download that I got from ShaKa around a symbol that looks like a circle with 8 circles inside of it. And he said that it represents perfect perception or the higher self, the higher mind, which operates from perfect perception. That was the original download, and then later I got this download that each of the circles within the ninth circle are like gateways, are like doorways, and that there are 8 components to how we co-create life with life. Um, and that no matter where we're at or what we're doing, we're going to be in one of these 8 kind of archetypes. Um, a few of them that come to mind: there's listen, discern, act, observe, respond, or observe, define, respond, learn, and I might be missing one more. But each of these are like doorways that when we really understand that component, if there's any resistance in it that we need to shine up or move aside, dissolve, then we just become really fluid co-creators. And so that's what the course is on. It's called Activate Infinity, and it starts the last weekend of this month. And each call will be live, and we'll be doing 20 to 30-minute contemplative kind of meditative journeys or activations where going through that doorway and really going to different parts of yourself and integrating different parts of yourself. So it'll be about 20 to 30 minutes of a type of contemplation and meditation experience with then about an hour of Q&A. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. And yeah, if anyone is interested, you can go to my website. It's on there, brandonbozarth.com, or find me on Instagram, shoot me a message. Or you could shoot me an email at info@brandonbozarth.com.
Very good, fantastic. I'm happy that you're sharing that. It seems very interesting. I connect so much with the idea of discernment, which I think is something that's lacking very much in society in general today. So it's encouraging to see that there's that aspect included in this teaching that came through you.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
I'm really excited about it.
Well, Brandon, this has been a very unique conversation, a very unique double conversation, and a very fun opportunity. Those questions that I asked came just as you were preparing. I tried to like connect a little bit with my breath, and a few of the questions came like very quick. And yeah, I'm super happy to have had that opportunity, and very thankful for you to be open enough to share that. And yeah, and I'm very happy to have met you and to get the opportunity to talk with you, because it's also very like you were saying, this thing that we have of, oh, okay, he's going to channel, so that's more important than what he says. But really, it's just, it's more exciting, maybe because I mean, when do we get the chance to talk with an alien or whatever
Yeah,
we might call him, and to get such a different perspective. But also what I mean is like the information that you share and the conversations that we've had together. I very much appreciate them. So yeah, and the outside has been so noisy and so distracting for the last like half hour, but I hope I did a good job in bringing like general questions that could be useful for the whole collective of us and for the present time that we're living. So yeah, I want to thank you. I want to thank you watching and listening for being here with us. And yeah, make sure to subscribe and etc. on the channel to get more of these types of interesting conversations. I've also got a Patreon which you can join or check out by looking at the description below. But it's a patreon.com/Rafa Martinelli, just my name. So well, thank you everybody, and I will see you back in our next episode. Thank you, Brandon, and we will speak soon. Bye bye, everybody.